Senator, I have a question about the subprime mortgage loans. Yes, we're starting to see now that states are taking proactive measures of their own to deal with this mess. Massachusetts, just last week or just last month, early last month, the governor signed into law a measure that would require mortgage companies, for instance, to require of states and the home buyers a 90-day notification if they were going to foreclose on a home. And it built in some required consumer counseling and education for people who wanted to enter into these high-cost loans. So I have kind of a three-pronged question. Who's at fault for this mess? Who's not at fault? And is there a role that you see that the government could play in helping to form a resolution with this?
I also noticed that California also took some action under Schwarzenegger, and as you say, there is increasing activity within the states, and I think that Secretary Paulson, who is a very credible guy around the world and on Wall Street and other places, is leaning more and more towards some kind of government intervention. I don't know all the answers to this, but clearly the subprime mortgage crisis is far-reaching, and I saw an article on the front page of the Wall Street Journal about a city in Norway that had their municipal funds invested in subprime mortgages, and you know, I was down at the debate in St. Petersburg. Next day, the front page article was of the counties and local authorities had all invested money in this investment fund, and now they were all yanking their money out as fast as they could because they were invested in subprime mortgages, and some counties and cities had gotten their money out, others were stuck because they froze it. So that the ripple effect of this thing is really what's remarkable. The trick to it is to try and help people afford the interest on their payments on their mortgage, and at the same time don't reward speculators and bad actors throughout this scene. There are people who got very rich on Wall Street, and there are people who got very rich on Main Street here, who sucked people into a deal that they knew that they had no capability of paying. And then, of course, there's the other people, the guy in Scottsdale or in Palm Beach or wherever it is, who bought 3 houses, kept them all empty, figuring he'd flip them in 6 months, or she would flip them in 6 months. So, you know, it's kind of hard to discriminate through that. We want to reward those speculators? I don't think so. Do we want to reward those people that basically entered into agreements where they skimmed the payments off the top and then knowing full well, or if they had any sense, knew full well that it weren't going to, there's no way there was an ability to pay. So I think simplification of the mortgage is the first and easiest step. Should be 1 page, and there should be a big thing that says, I understand this document, before they sign it. And then I think where we need to, what I worry about is, in an ideal world, we'd have enough people to go case by case and say, okay, you can go back to your previous interest rate and you can't. But my God, we're talking about hundreds of thousands, if not millions. And how long would that take? Meanwhile, people are suffering very badly. So I know that Paulson and those people are working. I know that the FHA is working and the other alphabet soup organizations, but I don't know how bad it's going to get. And obviously, the worse it gets, then the more there is a role for government. But I can't come down yet and give you a specific solution, because I don't claim to be smart enough. But I do have some confidence in Paulson. And I'm glad to see him more and more active in this issue. But I'd love to give you a solution, but I don't know.
Well, the dimension of this problem may be surprising to a lot of people, but to many people, many others, there were feelings that there was something amiss, something was going too fast, something was a little too hot.
Yeah.
Going back several years.
Yes.
Were you one of them? Or, I mean, you're a busy guy, you're looking at a lot of things. Maybe subprime mortgages wasn't something you focused on every day. But are you surprised?
Yeah, and I was surprised at the dot-com collapse, and I was surprised at other times in our history. I don't know if surprised is the word.
SNLs?
What'd you say?
The SNLs.
Yeah, the SNL.
I mean, is this bigger than that?
You know, I don't know the dimensions.
Yeah,
it's hard to know what the dimensions of it are. As I say, I never thought I'd pick up the paper and see a city in Norway is somehow dramatically impacted by it. When I say surprised, I'm not surprised when in capitalist systems that there's greed and excess. I think it was Teddy Roosevelt said unfettered capitalism leads to corruption or something like that people have disputed for years. But so in this whole new derivative stuff and SIVs and all of this kind of new ways of packaging mortgages together and all that is something that, frankly, I don't know a lot about. But I do rely on a lot of smart people that I have that are both in my employ and are acquaintances of mine, and most of them did not anticipate this. Most of them. I mean, I can find some that did. But a guy that's on my staff named Doug Holtzaken, who was once the head of the Office of Management and Budget, said there was nervousness out there. There was nervousness. There was nervousness that we had such a long period of prosperity without a downturn because of the history of our economy. But I don't really know of hardly anybody who, with the exception of a handful, that said, wait a minute, this thing is getting completely out of hand and is overheating. So I'd like to tell you I did anticipate it, but I have to give you straight talk, I did not.